I have 15 seconds to mention this Sunday night's show, Yitzhak Saflis' show, Mind Your Business. If you know who I am, that's amazing. You'll certainly listen this Sunday night. If you don't know who I am yet, my name is Issamar Ginzberg, Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg. I am the guest this Sunday night, and trust me, you do not want to miss this show. You'll thank me afterward.
Without further ado, our incredible guest, Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg, a trusted friend, guide to entrepreneurs, and beyond the conventional title, a partner and a mentor. By the way, I'm just going to read here. Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg was a top 10 entrepreneur of the year. He received that award in 2020. Rabbi Ginzberg, thank you so much for joining me here on 710 WOR, Mind Your Business.
Thank you very much for having me. You're very kind in all your introductions. I would really prefer to return the favor.
Okay.
But since I know I only have an hour before editing, if you do any editing to this show, the Entrepreneur of the Year was a long time before that. I don't know.
Oh,
you did a lot of research, but that article maybe from 2020, but the actual award was before that.
Okay.
But I've gotten that award and many others.
Okay. That was before. Okay,
it was
good.
a long time ago, yeah.
Okay.
And I've been a past guest here on your show.
Yes.
And I'm here back again. It's been an amazing experience to be here last time.
Amazing. So
much wonderful feedback. And I've heard about it from not only from entrepreneurs and business owners and, here in the Brooklyn area, but I've been in the most far-flung places. I do a lot of traveling and I've gotten regards from the show. So again, it's a pleasure to be here again. And you do a wonderful job presenting your guest.
Thank you.
And being the host and the interviewer, I'm not sure how much your listenership gets to hear in these interviews about the amazing work you do.
Thank you.
And Bottom Line Marketing Group and the tremendous amount of, we've had many clients in common.
That's correct.
Referrals going both ways, hopefully.
That's
and thank you for everything. Thank you for the wonderful introduction.
Rabbi Ginzberg, thank you very much for those very kind words. And tonight's show, in terms of, because our mind is always about the listener. I get feedback all the time, and it's because we feature great guests with a great story to share. And not just a story, but content. Tonight's show is a deep dive into the entrepreneurial mindset. And Rabbi Ginzberg, perhaps we could talk about the loyalty loop, frequent flyer programs. How do we understand and how do you explain the psychological elements in customer loyalty? And by the way, we've had a guest over the years, Shep Hyken, very big name in NSA Hall of Famer. By the way, not the National Security Agency. That's the National Speaker Association, a Hall of Famer. And he talked about, loyalty programs, etc.
I'm a past member of the NSA and I met him.
Oh, so yeah, a very impressive individual. Perhaps you could talk about that as it relates to loyalty and specifically someone who's a frequent flyer. Are they really loyal? Are they really someone who, they will come back to that brand again and again and again because they believe in the brand? Or is it, they just want to rack up those miles, so to speak?
Okay. I think before I answer the question, I want to take just one little step back from that question to say the following. The reason why minding your business, and I'm not a pilot and I don't work for an airline, but the reason why this is such a good example and something worth talking about and diving into is because since pretty much everyone who listens to this show flies,
right? Yeah, I think it's safe to say. Yep.
And either they fly a lot and they have status with an airline, or they don't fly a lot and they watch the other people getting all the perks and trying to understand how this works. It works out as a very good example to understand in your own business how to take what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong and try to put that same thing into your business. Every business has or should have what's called an ascension ladder. Every business has or should have some kind of sales funnel. Now, these terms get overused, but whatever you want to call it, it's worth diving into and understanding that what we're going to talk about now in terms of airlines and frequent flyer memberships has relevance to you and your business. Either you can figure out how on your own, or you can pay somebody like Yitzhak Saflis over here to help you do it. But this has value and reference to every business. Using myself as a quick example, if somebody comes to me for a consultation, then what happens is he may come once and I may never see him again, or he may come once and then decide this guy has something to offer and I want to work with him further. Therefore, it turns out that when I meet somebody once, either he's never going to come back again, or I'll just use easy numbers. Let's just say 50-50. 50-50, I see him once, I never see him again. Other 50, he says, I want to work with you further.
Mm-hmm.
That means that in my ladder, from when someone, let's say, heard about me last time I was on your show, until they researched me, reached out to me, decided it was the right move for them, Googled me, whatever it was, till they got to the point where they took a step of reaching out to me saying, hello, I would like to set up a time to talk to you. I don't do free first consultations. We could talk about that in itself for an hour, but basically it's about qualifying the client and making him pay up to show that he's real.
Right.
And by the way, sometimes I have a flight and I'll meet somebody. If I have a flight when I live in Jerusalem, I live in Israel. Yep. So sometimes I have a flight, for example, at 1:00 on a Thursday, so I can get back in time for Shabbos, the Sabbath, to back home to Jerusalem. So I will pack my car Thursday morning to go to the airport. My Hertz rental car. Again, Hertz is the same example, not an airline, but a car. Always using Hertz. Not looking at price, just convenience. But I'll pack my car in the morning. And after I daven, after I pray in the morning, I will set up one more appointment, even though I'm tight in schedule, and then literally leave together with the client from the appointment and go straight to the airport. I'm not doing it because of the fee I would get for a 1 hour meeting. For that 1 hour, I'm not being mazalzel. I'm not, I'm not making, I'm not, denigrating? I don't know the word.
Denigrating it and putting it down. Like,
I'm not putting down money, you know, but the reason that I'm willing to take that extra step is not because of the one-time hourly fee. It's because I know that every person that comes for an hour is possibly here a good, very possibly a long-term client. So I look at it in the terms of, as he's going up the ladder, this one meeting could be worth $50,000.
It's part of your lead generation process.
Correct.
Okay.
So $50,000, yes, I'm willing to get to the airport in the nick of time instead of 5 hours before the flight.
Now, just holding on to that concept about the loyalty loop. Perhaps you could just really say, because so many businesses out there, and I imagine this applies whether it's B2C or B2B. I mean, your example is, really more business to business. Ultimately, the businesses that you consult are B2C in many cases, but it's.
But when a person goes to any bagel shop that says buy 10 bagels and get one free, they're essentially building on that loyalty loop. They're saying, if we can get you to come in for another bagel, and stamp your card or punch your card, then we will build loyalty. And as a prize for that, we will give you the 11th bagel for free. Okay. When you go to any of the major supermarkets and they give you one of these loyalty thingies that go on your keychain, which prints coupons for the competing brand of whatever brand you're about to buy. Okay. That's also a B2C example of trying to use a loyalty card to build their what they know about you and what they can sell you. I'll just add something very interesting. You sometimes go to airports and you'll see that, let's say, as a Delta flight is boarding, you'll see somebody from American Airlines or from United coming with one of these little tchotchkes in their hand that counts passengers. Okay. And they're counting the passengers of the competing airline because they're trying to compare their flight load to their flight load to see who's busier. Why are they doing that? Because that's competitive advantage. They're trying to see what the other person has compared to what they have and how it's working out. Now, when you fly a certain airline enough, just as a simple example, El Al being the national airline of the state of Israel, one of the benefits they offer, I used to be a high-level member there and I have since switched to British Airways. I should maybe switch back, but that's a separate conversation. Okay. One thing I realized interesting is that once you fly above a certain amount, they allow you to use their lounge even when you're flying a competing airline. Wow. So it's obviously a great perk because when you live in Israel and you're flying through Ben Gurion Airport all the time, they have the best lounge with the most super kosher, Mahajran kosher food. Okay. At the same time, sometimes on a price basis, the other airline is much more competitive. I'd much rather fly business class, different airline than economy and El Al, assuming the prices were the same or similar. But if you can go to their lounge and go to that. But then I realized, I don't even know if they're doing this, but I realized something very valuable here. Every time I go into the El Al lounge with my boarding pass from a competing airline, they know I flew. They know I didn't fly them. And they only know that because I came into their lounge and I presented my boarding pass. So they're not only keeping track of how many times I'm flying El Al, they can also keep track of how many times I've left Israel not flying El Al. Correct. And that is a major piece of information that can help them going forward. So there's a lot of reasons why loyalty programs exist. Some are obvious, some are not. Some are more shallow, some are more deep, but there's a lot to say there. Let me just throw in a quick, two Orthodox Jews speaking on, even though this is a national, radio show. This week's Torah portion talks about, Rebecca and her. Yes. So I had one of my grandparents who was the Degel Machne Ephraim, grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. Wow. So he has a vort. He has a Torah thought, a nugget on this week's parsha about that. It wasn't like today when a woman went for a sonogram and they said, "Oh, congratulations, you're having twins." So she just had a lot of kicking and
right.
She didn't know exactly what was going on.
Right.
Every time she passed a
whatever
tradition has it. Every time she passed a synagogue.
Right,
anyway,
that's great.
Make a long story short. So sometimes people get kicks. And this is what the Degel Machna Ephraim says. And they don't exactly understand. It's like a whole mishmash. They don't understand like what reaction they're getting to what. And then it turns out, oh, there's twins here. So it's
right.
Whatever I thought was going on, it's not that. There's something very different going on than what I originally assumed. So that's a very good.
It's a great. I mean, once the sonogram revealed what it is, now it begins to make sense.
Right.
I mean, okay.
So I think I mentioned this last time I was here. I won't spend a lot of time on it. But sometimes companies try to do promotions and the promotions don't work. And it's because they should be doing a promotion which is very different. They should be doing two different promotions for two different audiences, as if it's twins, two different people, each one with their own needs and desires, and just trying to lump it all together doesn't work. Which is why people who just do print advertising and don't consider radio advertising as an example are very much fixed in a box. You got to realize different people have different ways of consuming media, and if you want to reach a wider audience, you got to reach them in different ways.
My guest is Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg, a noted consultant for businesses of all sizes and organizations of all sizes. We're not going to put him on the spot to share because obviously it's confidential. Tonight's show is a deep dive into the entrepreneurial mindset. And it's a real honor to have Rabbi Ginzberg here. By the way, I know one of the famous, as far as the award that you received as far as top 10 entrepreneur of the year, it wasn't 2020, but maybe you could talk about, just before I get back to my questions, you spoke at Google, just talk about some of the exciting highlights in your journey.
So when I started out, I know that I don't have my background. I'm born to an Orthodox Jewish Hasidic family in Brooklyn. And when I started out on my journey of being a consultant and a speaker, I knew I had this feeling like, okay, I can't show like a doctor can show all his Latin,
awards and
lambskin, awards, diplomas behind them. But I knew that in order to get the credibility that I needed, the way I would be getting it would be by speaking, delivering value, meeting people, and ultimately speaking for major corporations and organizations. And I knew that once I have that kind of background, that I've done that, the rest of it would fall into place much easier. Obviously, as an Orthodox Jew, everything a person does is just hishtadlus. It's just a person trying to do theirs. My uncle, the Kalev Rebbe, the Grand Rebbe of Kalev, who went through the Holocaust, was a very famous Hasidic personality. He was my great-great uncle, and I was very close with him. And he used to say that Hashem, God promises, I will bless you in everything that you do. He used to say, people forget the key word. I'll bless you. You have to do, and I'll bless what you do. But some people, if you just sit on your laurels, you don't do, then there isn't where the blessing should really take effect in the same way. So when I spoke for the Jewish National Fund, or I spoke at Google, or I spoke or I did consulting for other major companies, I knew that it wasn't about how much that company will or won't pay me. It's simply the fact that I worked for them that would take me to the next step. I'll even share one interesting thing, which is I was once offered to speak at Yahoo, and was set up when I'm going to speak. Make a long story short, I was interviewed in the Christian Science Monitor, I believe. Okay. And the reporter had come to one of my lectures. Make a long story short, even shorter. I happen to have mentioned to her, if I remember the story correctly, it was with her. I happen to have mentioned that I'm going to be speaking at Yahoo in a couple of weeks. And in the article it said, and he will be speaking at Yahoo, among the other things. And when somebody at Yahoo saw that, they said, no, canceled. But at the end of the day, the fact that it was canceled,
the value out there.
The value is still there.
Was probably even more than.
Right. So what would I have gotten from Yahoo? A check? All right. But now I even have a story to say here.
That's right. And it was reprinted in.
Right. And I've gone to speak places. They said, and he spoke at Yahoo. And I'm like, like you said about the award, I don't want to correct them, but I don't want people to say he spoke to you. When did he speak to you? He didn't deny it. So it must be true. It gets me in sticky situations sometimes.
I want to hold on to, in fact, this is one of the points that we wanted to get to in tonight's show. Mindful marketing, okay? Edutainment and connection rings in the water. Because this really part of what you just brought up, establishing authority up front. Perhaps we could talk about that. Why is it so important? Perhaps especially in B2B, you have an attorney, you have someone who leads a CPA firm or a marketing firm, etc., that they should establish themselves as an authority in terms of, it builds the credibility, I guess is the right word up front.
Okay. So let's just take an example.
Yeah.
I call up, I take the local phone book, it depends how I'm marketing, psychographic, demographic, geographic. I open the local phone book and I go through the names and I go to the yellow pages because I'm looking for business owners as an example. Yeah. And I call up and say, hello, my name is Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg. You can Google me, just Google my first name. I'll come right up. I've spoken here. I've done this, I've done that. At the end of the day, I'm a cold call. Most people will hang up on me.
Right.
If I get someone who doesn't hang up on me, it's still going to be a difficult slog and a hard sell because I am below, they are on the stage, I am below them. When a person does marketing and they use authority in their marketing and they market properly and they understand the psychology behind what they're trying to do and they spend their time to build up their authority, and I could talk about this in depth, but
it actually takes to hold on to this a little bit. Yeah. This is very valuable.
There's a famous psychologist. Anyone who's listening to this show long enough or has been in the world of marketing long enough probably has heard of this book. But there's a very famous book called Influence by Dr. Robert Cialdini, Cialdini, where he talks about it. It's a psychology book. He's a professor, but very, 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 very valuable to anyone in business, whether you own a business, work in a business, manage a business, etc., and discussing these points about this consistency, authority, scarcity, reciprocity, social proof liking. He has a bunch of other books. But essentially, the way he explains authority in the simplest way, it's just very good for each person to understand. And just consider you reading that book as an extension of what you're hearing here on the show. Okay. When you walk into a doctor's office and he's sitting in his white coat at a desk and behind him he's got 20 pieces of lambskin with stuff written in Latin, you say, oh, this guy knows what he's doing. If this same guy was standing in a butcher shop with the same white coat, you just consider him a butcher. It's the setting that counts. It's the setting, the way it's set up gives a lot of credibility to the person who's the doctor and makes you much more comfortable with that this person may operate on you, the individual. There's a lot to be said for how authority works. But in short, when a person spends the beginning of their business, as they're growing, takes the time to stop and position themselves properly, they change a potential cold call, trying to reach out to people. Like I said before, I could reach out to everyone in the yellow pages into people calling them. Inbound marketing instead of outbound marketing. Even if there is outbound marketing, if somebody reaches me, just as a random example, when I travel, and I'm in not my hometown, a different country, I can go local here to a shul, to a synagogue, to daven mincha, and inevitably somebody may approach me and say, I want to talk to you, I've been listening to you for a while, I've been reading your articles, I'd like to, if I daven in the same shul every day, I wouldn't get that because the same people every day, but when I go on a plane, I'm always meeting people who know of me and who was just thinking about me last night and would like to consult with me. But it's building authority. It's building it with chachma. It's building it with careful precision. And every business that you look at that has succeeded, if you think about it, you'll see, unless they're just pounding their head in the sand, trying to do cold calling and forcing their way with sheer brute power, sheer brute force, it's really done with a lot of thought into how to position their business properly to help those sales go that much more smoothly.
Now, if I could just please hold on to this a drop more, because there are many people out there that will say, you know what? Conceptually, I hear it, but what is the seamless transition from authority to value? It's like people out there, what Rabbi Ginzberg is saying makes sense. He has to, the setting makes a difference. It's all true. But how does one bring it home? How does someone put that into action?
Okay, fantastic question. I'm sure you have several answers of your own. I told you you're an interviewer and you asked the question, but I'm sure you have plenty to share about this on your own. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Okay.
There is a lot to be said for every type of business. Always says my business is different. For me, it doesn't work because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
In every single type of business, when you're going into a business where you have to trust the person you're doing business with, when you walk into a bank, there are elderly people who won't put their money in a bank unless there's a local branch because they want to be able to go touch the bricks of that branch of that bank where they're going to put the money in, even though the money they're putting in doesn't actually sit in that branch till they take it out. It's very hard to give a general answer to that question of how any business can do it.
Okay.
But if you think about anyone who's successful in your line of business, whatever that line of business is, you will see that that's the case. People write books. People write articles. People, it's easier today than ever to position yourself as an expert. And if for whatever reason you can't position yourself as an expert in what you do, that doesn't matter. Let's pick a hard example, life insurance, with all the different rules they have and all the different approvals they need to get for everything they do. At the end of the day, someone in insurance who, as an example, plays chess.
Okay.
And can do videos or write articles or a book or whatever about chess. And every time it just they just so happen to mention and happen to make people aware of the fact they do insurance, they will get lots of people who play chess to buy insurance from them. It doesn't have to be necessarily building the expertise publicly as expertise in that particular field. It has to be expertise in general, something that makes people want to come to you. At the same time, many people do it, as an example, real estate agents will often do this where they are the local go-to person. It comes before the holiday season. There's a toy drive. They're doing it. They're sponsoring it. They're at the local fire station making they're sponsoring the local barbecue. So they're not actually saying, I am the best real estate person you've ever met, but they're promoting themselves to a position of authority that when you are in any given zip code in the United States, there's that local real estate agent that is the big kahuna of real estate in that particular zip code, even though 5 miles down the road, nobody may have ever heard of this person. But in this zip code, every shopping cart in the local supermarket, when you open with a place where you put the kid in, will have their picture as the sponsor of that, as the, paying for the shopping cart.
Now, can I hold on just because this segment is talking about marketing? Because you're really touching on it. Third party validation. How important is that instead of a company just doing chest beating, we're the best, we're the greatest, etc., but having now in the case of, if someone's doing a toy drive, they're not necessarily validating the business, but they are promoting the other business by saying, wow, look how great they are. They are so, generous, etc. Talk about third party validation, having someone else promote their brand, and how much more impactful is that? And maybe some examples on that.
Okay. So first of all, I'm now going to give the most ridiculous testimonial, totally unsolicited, that you've ever heard.
Okay.
The Better Business Bureau is the biggest, most valuable waste of money you can spend on your business. And what I mean by that is the following. I know that I have no relationship with them, neither good nor bad. In essence, the Better Business Bureau is a waste of money in the sense that some people think it's government related. The Yellow Pages in the olden days used to always say, contact the Better Business Bureau for information. At the same time, for a couple of dollars, you pay them a couple of dollars and now you can use their badge in your business.
Right.
And they don't actually say that the business doesn't have any complaints. They just say if someone does complain, they will sort of be an intermediary in the complaint. Okay. And yes, if someone's complaining, especially in a world of like today where everyone's taking credit cards and people can make disputes, if they really want to anyway. If you have an unhappy customer, you should be dealing with that customer in any case. But the Better Business Bureau seal of approval, whether it's worth it or not, as I'm explaining with this half-hearted testimonial. Okay. At the end of the day, it costs a couple of dollars. You put it on your website, and suddenly it's not just another website that I have to worry, is it real? Isn't it real? Did the guy just buy this website, clone a website on eBay for $25? How do I know this website is real? I'm giving them my personal information. Okay. Not only credit card information, even when that has an SSL or it's using a third party. If I'm buying, some kind of vitamin for memory loss, well, that says, thank God I'm not, but that says a lot about the person. Okay. So somebody might want to be careful about what information they're sharing with a third party if they don't feel that third party is trustworthy. Anything like the Better Business Bureau or other such seals, etc., give a lot of credibility to a business.
So you are for it?
I am for it, even though I'm for it because bottom
it sounded
line,
like in the beginning you said you were
That's why I said it's the most ridiculous. It's a waste of money in theory, but in real life it works. Right.
Oh, see, okay. So just want to make sure
half-heartedly recommending Better Business Bureau.
Okay. But the fact is, it's like, back in the day, Good Housekeeping started, not back in the day. I'm saying any of these.
Some of them are more legitimate. Meaning, say if you're going to buy an electric thing, you're going to plug it in the wall. You don't want to get a zap.
Right.
It has UL.
Okay. So for example, Better Business Bureau out there, if someone has that seal out there, when someone sees that in the ad, it's impactful. It's like, there's value to that.
Correct. Now, I'll add to that something, let's assume from this interview, you take what I just said about the Business Bureau and make a clip about it.
Right.
So we don't have any third-party validation from the Better Business Bureau. Maybe you have it. I don't know.
No.
It's not meant for our line of work.
Right.
Our lines of work.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, if we put up this clip on YouTube and it goes up under Better Business Bureau, is it worth it or not? Then we will essentially at a certain, I didn't do this on purpose, but
Right.
both of us will be piggybacking on people searching for is Better Business Bureau worth it or not? And they'll find us and maybe they'll hire you.
Right. But coming back to third-party validation, having that little symbol in the corner goes psychologically helps a business.
Clearly. And I want to jump from there into further to third-party validation, which is when you, there's advertising and then there is, let's call it organic content.
Yep.
For example, when you get interviewed in the New York Times and they have a blurb about you. I was interviewed in the New York Times once about the topic of timeshares.
Okay.
I am not a timeshare seller. I'm not a timeshare buyer, but I was interviewed on the topic because many years ago went to a timeshare
conference
presentation because I heard that they do a great job at high pressure sales and I wanted to experience it for myself. And I almost bought a timeshare. That's how good they were. But it was worth it, even if only because I had a New York Times interview about it.
Yes.
But once that interview happened, I was interviewed in the New York Times.
Right.
So that's all that third party validation. Amazing. And there's a lot to be said for whenever you're mentioned someplace as an earned media, how much it does for you. There's also the middle ground, which is like advertorial style, which has the value of almost 90%, I would say, of being a non-paid for interview, much more so than an advertisement because people read it and get value from it. At the same time, it's a way to be placed where you want to be placed with the message you want to give. And I've written, I don't know, hundreds, but tens certainly of advertorials for customers, which are placed in many publications in English and other languages.
Now, before we get to a commercial break, but just to hold on to as far as the content, like I'll notice in Forbes, Cranes, etc., that they'll have sponsored content. We have found that even though it says that, there's still a very, very high value for having that.
So you just mentioned Cranes, and Cranes has a special place in my heart.
Okay.
Because when I started out trying to get interviewed. See, when I realized that's a piece of authority, that's very important. Right. The first place I was ever interviewed was Crane's New York Business. And I was so excited. I knew that when this thing gets printed and it comes out, which day of the week it comes out, I knew that this was the ticket to my success. I now have an interview where I gave good value and it's going to say marketing expert and so on and so forth. The interview came out and I thought maybe I had the wrong day. I remember it was Tuesday, Wednesday, because nobody called. And I waited another 12 hours, and then I got a phone call, and I was so excited. And this woman, I don't remember her name, but I still remember what she did for a living. She was she worked for a cleaning crew that cleaned attorneys' offices in the evenings. And she had read on the desk of the lawyer, the article where I was interviewed in, she had read on the lawyer's desk while she was cleaning. And she called me that she does poetry, something with poetry, and she wanted to know if I could help her. And it was a big letdown for me, even though I gave her, some good time. Yeah, okay. I was let down because I thought Cranes was the Zach. I thought Cranes is getting me. But then I realized three other things that happened from Cranes. One was the Cranes interviewer referred me a very big client. The woman who had written the article a year later, maybe 2 years later, had written, and by the way, I'm still good with that writer. Wow, and I went, she wrote a book and I went to the book launch and I thanked her and I told her again, I owe you one. You were the first place that ever placed me. I also realized that whenever I tried to get an interview, people would like the writer, the journalist would Google me and say I didn't have any interviews and worry that maybe I wasn't legit. But once I had Cranes, then it was much easier at the next one, the next one, the next one. That was major help to me. And the next thing that I realized is it's not about being in Cranes. It's about me being able to say I was mentioned in Cranes. It's about me being able to promote on my chat, on my
leveraging. Right. That's amazing. Mind Your Business with Yitzhak Saflis right here on 710 WR.
By the way, mind your business doesn't mean, dear listeners, doesn't mean mind your own. It doesn't mean don't listen to us, mind your business. It means mind your business that we're minding. We're helping you mind your business. All right.
Exactly right. Thank you. Let's talk about credit and credibility. Unconventional value. For example, and this is really something that you have a great shtickle on, so to speak. The worth of a mortgage broker's commission. And this is, you really, if you could explain that, because there are people out there that are in a certain industry and then the people do business with them and they're like, I'm taking the commission, I can go direct, etc.
First of all, when you mention mortgages, I have to give a shout out to Iris Lodowitz, a mutual friend of ours, and my boss from Once Upon a Time.
Yes. It's very special individual. Company. Yes. And again, I had the great zchus of working for his father, for Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg, the art scroll.
Yes, his biography is incredible.
Yep.
What a person can accomplish.
Yes.
Anyway, so
Right. Now
So you
back
mentioned
to
mortgages.
yes,
You got to put that in there.
Right.
I started out doing mortgages.
Yeah.
And whenever I do something, excluding Torah learning, which has its own issues as far as the challenges a person has, but outside of Torah learning, let's say, whenever I do something, I try to go all in. I try to go deep. I try to understand it as deeply as possible. I don't have the Yetzer Hara trying to schlep me away. So if you're going to do mortgages, okay, so what are their FICO scores? What are FICO scores? How do they work? Credit, how does it work? And I ended up going very, very deep into the world of credit scoring, even though it wasn't so relevant to commercial mortgages as residential mortgages. But the reason I wanted to speak about it today, the reason I thought it's an important topic, is because it's a great example for something, there's a famous expression, in Chodesh Tachas Hashemesh, which means there's nothing new under the sun. Everything's already out there. If so, why should somebody hire me? Why should somebody hire a consultant? Why should somebody hire a marketing company? Right. Why should anyone go to a doctor? Just Google it and figure it out yourself.
Right.
The short answer is that you can find any information out there by yourself. What you're paying for when you pay somebody is you're paying for speed, and you're paying not to make mistakes. In Yiddish, they say of the eigene Bord, on your own skin. You're paying to learn from other people's mistakes. Let me help you get there. Don't try to climb up yourself. You can climb Everest by yourself. Some people have done it because before the first guide got the first person up there, somebody was up there first. But still, I've had many clients who either their parents, for example, their father has a very successful business. Father says, listen, I learned the hard way. My son's going into his own business. I don't want to learn the hard way.
Right.
Let him hire you and you teach him, and that way.
That's right.
Many people are successful open a second business. They're like, listen, the first time I didn't have the money, I was on a shoestring. Now I have the money. Let me do it the way where other people can help. So anyway, as far as just going back to mortgages, simple tip, which I think can be very beneficial to many of the listeners, is the following. If you apply for a mortgage and your credit score is, picking easy numbers, all the mortgage brokers out there, you can feel free to email, not me, at rabbiissamar@gmail.com. You can email the successful with your complaints. Just a simple example. If you have a 699 credit score or you have a 701 credit score, it's 2 digits difference, which is, right. It's not a big deal at all for that to change based on your balance changing by $20. Can make a difference over the lifetime of a loan if you pay $1 million in interest or if you pay $2 million in interest over the next 30 years. Now, if you know that and you give me, as an example, and I'm not a mortgage broker, but if you let me look at your credit report and you give me, I'll say a week. If you need a mortgage today, I'm not sure I can help you. But if you give me a week or two from when now cleaning the mortgage, I can simply tell you in 3 minutes, several things to do. It'll take maybe 10 minutes of your time, even if you don't have any extra cash. And you'll be able to raise your score by a couple of points. Doing that will save you $1 million in the next 30 years. Now, I'm happy to explain it.
Right. But
that's in short. Now, if you explain that to a person, whether or not you're a mortgage broker or not, you've given them value that they can then take to the bank. Because if they do that little change on their own time, it makes a major difference. And many people, if I would have only known this. So people are paying you for your knowledge. And when you deliver knowledge, and you can deliver knowledge, and this is very important, you can deliver knowledge. This is an example that I thought of last night. And by the way, if you're in any business, marketing or other, the more you develop your own IP, your own intellectual property, your own way of referring to things, the better off you'll be. So I was thinking about this yesterday, and I was thinking that I was on my way to New York. I traveled from Tel Aviv to Budapest. I went from Hungary to Ukraine, from Ukraine to Poland. God willing.
And again, we're recording this on Thursday. Of course, the rabbi didn't travel on Shabbos. Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And the reason I did that was because we have a tradition, as I mentioned earlier. I'm a grandchild of a descendant of many great rabbis, including the Baal Shem Tov. So there's a tradition that before marrying off a child, you go to the graves.
And it's Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov.
Thank you.
An upcoming chassan.
He's here off screen.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a tradition that you go and you pray at the graves of holy ancestors for success, and you invite them to the wedding. The very first printed invitation that we placed was at the grave of my great I think grandfather Mordechai of Nidverna in Ukraine. We weren't on the side of the crane where the war was. We stayed closer to the other side. But so in any case, I went to several countries on my way here, and I was thinking about the euro to the dollar. I was thinking about the grivna, the UAH, the Ukrainian currency to the dollar, and the zlota to the dollar. And I was thinking, you know what? The shekel is approximately now 41 to the dollar. I was thinking if you had a value that you gave somebody value, and you had let's just call it the BLMG to the USD.
Okay.
So we're making it a currency like Bitcoin, BTC, USD.
Okay.
We do BLMG to the USD. Okay. So if we do that, then we have, if that ratio is, for example, 4-to-1, where I feel that instead of giving you $1 getting 4 shekels, I feel I give you $1 and I get $4 in value back because the work that Bottom Line Marketing has done has given me a return of 400% of my money, hopefully much more than that. But just as a simple example, then what that essentially does is that says, okay, if I had another $100, of course I'm going to give it to you because that means I'll get another $400 out of it. It's like a faucet. If I see that every dollar I'm putting into marketing is returning a return on its investment, which is very nice, I'm obviously going to keep doing more of it. So I was thinking that's why I mentioned my whole trip, because essentially you have to look at it as sort of an exchange rate. As long as you're delivering not just value equal to the dollar, but far beyond the dollar, people will literally throw money at you much more than they originally did. As hard as it was to get that first payment from the person, it gets easier even though it's much higher numbers because they see the value far exceeds what they're paid for it.
We're speaking with Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg, noted consultant for many businesses, B2B, B2C, and organizations out there. As we approach the end of the show, then I'll ask your email address because I know otherwise you might be like, hey, let them listen to the end.
Just a question. When's the last time you gave your email address on the show?
Yeah, but because good point. I give the website. You obviously have a cheshbon.
So there are people who give websites,
right?
And then they're making the person work much harder to get to their email.
That's true.
And some people want to reach you. They don't want to. I walked in here today, all the staff sitting here and everything. I felt like,
thank you.
Tiptoeing through them all to get to the studio.
The rabbi's bringing up a good point. I'm going to give my email.
I'll mention my website, you mention your email.
And my cell phone. I 100% and give my cell 718-216-8928. I want to help you grow your business. 718-216. Am I doing the right thing?
Yes, you are.
Okay, good. 718-216-8928. 718-216-8928. And my email, YS, for Saftless, YS@bottomlinemg for marketing group. YS@bottomlinemg.com. Rabbi, back to you.
So, okay, I'll just give my WhatsApp, which is on a computer. It's not on my phone, really.
Okay.
I have a little tiny phone. I won't go there. But if you want to send me a message, I wouldn't say call me. I'll give my cell phone number, so to speak. WhatsApp me, because then I can work in whichever time zone I'm in and respond when I can, and so on and so forth. My WhatsApp is +972, which is the country code of Israel. 972-52-956-9096. I'll just repeat it again. And before I repeat it, I'll say, take out your phone or take out a pencil and write it down, which gives you a few seconds to process what I'm about to say and to actually put it in someplace. +972, plus you hold down the 0 till it becomes a plus. 972-52-956-9096. My email address, instead of saying it at the end, I'll say it now. Rabbi Issamar, RABBIISSAMAR @gmail.com. And my website is rabbiissamar.com.
Amazing. Rabbi, we have 4 minutes left.
So let me just mention something.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, back to frequent flyers.
Yes.
When you have when someone gets to the next level of frequent flyer, so they go from, let's just call it, and whatever, every airline has their own way of calling it, every loyalty program, but essentially there's, let's call it essential, let's call it silver, gold, platinum. Credit cards have the same idea. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to get you to go to the next level. So, for example, I am flying, God willing, tomorrow on a flight here in a domestic flight here in the United States. I'm flying with my son who's off screen.
Okay.
I booked his ticket using my miles, and I booked my ticket paying cash. Even though I could have also used my miles to buy 2 tickets, and I would have gone for much cheaper.
Right.
I'm paying an expensive price for my ticket. And the reason I'm doing it is because I am 45 points below the amount that I need to keep the highest British Airways status for the following year. And since I live in Israel, and since British Airways and many other airlines are not flying to Israel at the moment because of the situation there, and we hope and pray that things improve very soon, not just because I want to have my British Airways flying again. And a shout out to the British Airways group that I'm a member of, all the Orthodox Jews that fly in British Airways, who have a group together that we try to help each other, and other Jews who are stranded or need things brought from one place to another, like someone leaves their tefillin in an airport, for example. Yep. But what happens is, so as an example, right now I'm spending extra money that I didn't have to spend. I could fly JetBlue for cheaper and a more direct routing than I'm flying, but I'm doing it because I have that certain limitation. I mean, at the same time, once I hit it, I don't think I'm going to hit the next one. So once I fly this flight, they've actually disincentivized me, and they've made me fly another airline because they're not giving me anything for my flights beyond this particular flight, unless I happen to be taking a major flight, which would get me 2 more upgrade certificates for the following year.
Wow. Ultimate cheshbon, which means
I wish in Torah learning I could be like I am in other areas of life, trying to get to the bottom of it. I'll mention one more point. I don't know when you're planning to go till the end of this show. Yeah. But whenever I Google something for a client, I have many clients who come to me and say, there's no such product out there, there's no such service out there. And just with a little bit of Googling, and I'm not superhuman. I don't know. I'll find it. And a lot of it is to be said. It's like the same thing we said before about knowledge and the value of knowledge. It's knowing what to look for, how to look for it. Quick story. Had a client came to me. He was dealing with a company in China. For sure, they're legit. He saw pictures of the factory, this, that, and the other. I went to Google image search. I did a screenshot of the page, went to Google image search, put that image in Google, found 50 factories using that same blue building as the image of their factory, and was able to show to the client, not everything is as it seems. I've stopped many clients from spending, or unfortunately I have clients who call me after they've spent and lost money and all kind of scams and stuff, and experience goes a long way. And some people, if people, it's like before Rosh Hashanah, there's this scale with the scale of justice. The more time you spend on something, less money you have to spend. The more money you spend, less time you have to spend. When someone's trying to do it and they're trying to do it fast and they're trying to do it right and they're trying to make success out of their business before they turn 177, they're best off, if they can afford it, getting the right help to really help guide them and do it right. And that would be hiring you.
Thank you very much. What an incredible show. A deep dive into the entrepreneurial mindset featuring Rabbi Issamar Ginzberg. Before I let you go, please repeat again your email address, your website. How could people are listening and like, I got to get in touch. He's one smart guy. He certainly is. How to get in touch with you? It's the end of the show. You said you'll share it again.
I shared it before instead.
I know, but you know, this is.
What's your email address?
Okay, if you want to reach me, thank you. Yitzchak Safdal's here. ys@bottomlinemg.com. ys@bottomlinemg.com. And my cell, so we can help you grow your business, 718-216-8928. Feel free to WhatsApp, 718-216-8928. And now I turn to the
And
rest.
again, if Yitzchak Safdal's number to WhatsApp him is 718-216-8928. 718-216-8928.
Third party validation here.
And his email address is ys, as in Yitzchak Safdal, @bottomlinemg.com.
And now the rabbi. No, that's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
This wraps up a great show. In order to get it, you could get it on the podcast. You could listen to the video cast again. This is going to be up on YouTube. The rabbi shared it. Wishing everyone a very successful week. Thank you.
And before you knock this off, you just mazel tov on being number 3 on the rankings.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Take care. Thank you for watching, and make sure to subscribe to this channel and be notified every single time a new video goes live. Don't miss out on any of the weekly interviews that I have with top business leaders, sometimes Fortune 500 executives. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications.